Hello everybody, I am PTG from Proxy Table Gaming and welcome back to another Universal Battle 2 tutorial, continuing on from previous videos in which I showed you the Universal Battle 2 interface, the terrain and dice features, and then onto the more fancy buttons that allowed you to swish things with your units on the battlefield. Of course, that third video was potentially a little bit advanced in terms of what you can do with things, because there are some more simple tools that are available for you to use in battle. So, forgetting about those fancy tools a little bit, let's go to more basic tools. So, what do I mean when I mean basic tools? Well, one of the things I mentioned in a previous video was a tape measure. Now, obviously, you know what a tape measure is, because well, I'm taking it that you've got some sort of intelligence, and B, you probably play tabletop games normally with models, and most tabletop games probably involve a tape measure in some form. But let's not go down that line of intelligence too much, because, I'm going to show you that Universal Battle 2 does indeed have a tape measure feature. Now, how do you access the tape measure feature? Because I don't think I've shown you yet on these tutorials. Well, that is in this button down here. That is simply is it caliper? I don't know. I'm already making an idiot of myself, especially after speaking about intelligence. And a ruler. That is the button for the tools that are available. So let me left click on that one. Comes up with a tools menu. And depending on where you last left it when you logged in, it will either highlight one of the tabs at the top. For the sake of what I want to show you in this first part, I'm going to go to the special tab. I'm not sure why it's called special, because hopefully there's not anything too special about a tape measure. And this is our tape measure. So in order to activate it, you just left click on it, and immediately a 4-inch long tape measure will appear in the center of your battlefield. Now, great. I know that I need a tape measure. How on earth do I actually use it? Well, as with many features in Universal Battle 2, sometimes you are better off just putting something on a battlefield and just playing around with it to see how it works. But just for the sake of demonstration, you can highlight it, left click as normal, and you can drag it along, and you can move it to a new position. So say, for example, I know I want to measure the distance between these two units, and I didn't want to use that fancy tool down here, then I would use a tape measure for that, and I would move my tape measure roughly to about there, so that one edge of it is on this unit. And also, you can notice that the moving that tape measure does not bring up a notification to the other player, because tape measures are not seen as important features in a battlefield environment, at least not for the game purposes itself anyway. So how would I increase it to measure the range? You have to click on one of the circles on either edge of your tape measure, and then you literally drag it along, like so. So you are increasing the size of your tape measure. And for this example, I'm just increasing it to show the distance between these two units. And in a nice different color, it will tell me exactly the distance, which is, I've left it at 17 inches. By the time there's a model on that corner, you might be able to get a more exact measurement. It measures in points. So you can easily tell how far away a unit is. So if it was 16.9, then I know it's less than 17. If it was 17.1, then I know technically for dice rolling charge range, at least in the 9th age, I would need an 18-inch range to succeed that charge. Another feature that it shows in this tape measure is it shows you the angle of the tape measure, 350 degrees. That's actually quite useful for when you want to arrange models in a certain angle, but I possibly have already missed the chance to tell you about that, so won't go into that too much right now. So yeah, that's one way of using the tape measures. Now, one thing that you will need to be aware of when moving tape measures around the battlefield is that you might notice that when I move other units around, a blue undo button appears in the bottom right corner. Let's see that, for example. So this unit, I'm moving it, and hey presto, a blue undo button appears. Great. I'm going to press undo. That unit's gone back to where it was. Now, if I were to move the tape measure around, there's no undo button. I cannot undo the position of the tape measure to move it back to where it was. No major issue, of course. I can just move it back to where it was myself. No one's really lost anything from that, surely. Well, that may be the case, but you need to be aware of one thing when using the tape measure, which is why I'm drawing attention to it specifically. Is, say, for example, I've got this laid out. I know that I'm about 17 inches away, and I'm happy with that. Now, what if I move my unit back 2 inches, or roughly using that? I'm moving back roughly 2 inches, right? So yeah, I'm happy enough with that, but I want to just check that I've definitely done it. So I now, I've got my blue undo button for moving the unit back, but now I'm going to use the tape measure to check that I've gone 2 inches back. You will now see that it's taken away the undo button. That means that no matter what I do with this tape measure, I cannot undo the unit. Interestingly, I can undo the tape measure. I don't think I could do that. Well, either way, the fact that I'm trying to get across is that you cannot now undo that unit moving backwards 2 inches. So yeah, that's unfortunate. So you do have to be a bit careful with the tape measure if you're using that as a measurement device. And that is half the reason why I really prefer to use this feature to measure distances. So you use the bars to find out how far away you are from a unit, or from the unit itself. So for example, I can see that I'm about 18 inches away, which is what I thought in the previous example. Yeah, so that's the tape measure. There's many, you use a tape measure pretty much for however you would use it in a game. So I'm not going to go through the many different ways that you actually will make use of tape measure. Okay, but that's not all when it comes to the Tools button. There is, of course, this other feature, which is a Draw. Now, I don't tend to use this one too much, but it is very much a feature that is available, so I'll press on it and have a little play around with it. If I left-click on it, it comes up with a green tick. That shows that I've got Draw activated. So if I close it, now what I can do is when I left-click on the board, I can draw a little face. Now, it doesn't have to be a face, obviously. You can just scribble as much as you like. Draw whatever you like. But yeah, it just creates something on the board. So if I, for example, want to say this unit wants to move in this direction and have a chat with my opponent about it before I actually move any models, then that helps me to demonstrate it. Maybe I say, excuse me, I can't identify this unit. They say, well, what unit are you talking about? I'll say, this unit here. What is that unit and what's its magic items or something like that, So the draw tool is useful in that regard. And you can imagine you can draw whatever you like. I'm not going to go into the various possibilities of what you can draw. Now, the one thing obviously you might be wondering about is how do I get rid of all this graffiti on the board? That is simply by going into the Tools menu again and pressing on the minus. All gone. Now, what you also need to be aware of is once you are satisfied that you've got rid of all your drawings, you also need to untick this button in order to stop the draw from happening. And then it goes back to the highlight box, which obviously you will probably want more often than not. If you left the draw icon on, sometimes it can get a bit annoying when you suddenly start drawing all over the board and you didn't mean to. So there is that, and that actually covers the whole of that first tab. So great. Now let's move into this tab, which is titled Meters. Now, it's hard to see because the size of this menu is actually quite small, but these are various meters, otherwise sometimes commonly referred to as templates, that you can use to help you out when determining various sizes of things or various effects in battle. And you literally activate them by left-clicking on them, the same as you would for any other tool. So for example, this one, I left-click on it, that comes up with a ruler that is 12 inches, and you can move it around. You can use the same tools you would to rotate the ruler, same as you would for rotating a unit. You can link it to things if you really need to, and you can put them in the trash to get rid of them. And there are various tools in here. So for example, there's a see-through 12 one, in case you need to still see what's underneath things. Let's see what else we've got. We've got a 6-inch one. Don't know what you could possibly need that for. There's a 5-inch circular template. Sometimes games use circular templates to the side. And various other templates that you can use. A 3-inch one, there's a cone. There's what used to be referred to in certain games as a fire cone template. And then there's loads of other rulers with various different sizes. This one, for example, 24 inches, this one 30 inches, and so on. And you can have a play with all the different tools and decide how you need them. One way, for example, that I would use this 30-inch tool, maybe that's a bad example, let's say 24-inch tool, is if I want to check that my army is deployed 24 inches away from my opponents, I can use that as a way of checking. Or just getting the rough idea, depends how accurate you and your opponent want to be. But the beauty of Universal Battle 2 is you can be extremely accurate and everyone is happy then. Or of course, if you're having a relaxed game, you can just not worry about that sort of thing. So yeah, those are the other tools that are available in that second tab, all very basic. Now symbols is a whole different matter entirely, really. Symbols is something that I use to just sort of help with props during the battle, things that literally symbol what's going on. I mean, you can use these for any features that you want, and there's no defined way of using them. For example, you've got this feature, which generally is considered to mark a champion in a unit in the 9th Age. You got this icon, which generally is considered to mark a standard bearer. You've got this unit, this art symbol, which would signify a musician. But I mean, there's nothing to stop you from decorating a battlefield with tons of these, just to say, you know, well, this lake is a musical lake. What do you do? You know, I'm being silly, but technically you can do what you like when you're designing your battlefield. And then there's other symbols like this cross. Some people use that to indicate how many wounds a unit has taken. There's a red marker, red cross to indicate, you know, maybe that's an objective marker or something. A star, like you could use that for whatever you like. I tend to use a skull icon for when my units have taken wounds. I find that one is the most iconic, as in I've taken damage, so I'm hurting a little bit. Makes sense on the skull. That's my personal favourite. There's also a crown, a purple symbol. There's a blood spatter, a couple of blood spatters in fact. And then there's other symbols available. So, you know, have a little explore with them, use them for whatever you like. And then as we go towards the right side of this symbol bar, we've also got these numbers. So if you want to say, you know, that I've taken 1 wound, 2 wounds, 3 wounds, for example, you can actually use these ones instead if you want. And so instead of using 2 or 3 skulls, which is my preferred method, you can actually just put out a number in a circle. It actually goes up to 6. So, you know, there aren't numbers beyond that, but there is a way of creating those sort of features if you desperately want to, as we'll go into in a future tutorial. So yeah, that is the tools icon button here. It's very handy. You know, there's loads of different ways that you can use these in battle. I wouldn't even like to begin to tell you about all of them, but you know, that's just one of the great features of Universal Battle 2, is that there's every tool that you would need. I haven't yet come across a situation where there's not something that you can use to help you out in a battle, or in order to play a game. I mean, for example, one way that I use is I tend to have 2 of these 5-inch templates on the board at any one time. I will tell you for why. That is because this unit, which let's for this example say that they're armed with crossbows, I say to my opponent, this unit of crossbows is going to aim their weapons at this unit here. And then I would go ahead and start. And that saves your opponent from going, sorry, which unit? Because if they know that you're going to do this, then they would know that the templates are going to be on those units. And they can see immediately your unit is shooting at their unit. And so on. And that just clears up any kind of confusion in the middle of a very quick moving shooting phase, potentially. The only thing to bear in mind when doing this is that you do need to actually move the template once the opponent is taking casualties away from the back of their unit, because otherwise it's actually hard to grab a model because your template is on them. So just for etiquette's sake, you might want to like remove your template yourself. But of course, you know, it all depends on who you're playing and stuff like that. Obviously don't do it if it gets on your opponent's nerves. That's just one example of another way that I use templates. But it really is endless how you can use them. Cool, so I think I'll wrap up this tutorial there. Possibly a bit shorter, I don't really measure the time on this one. But I don't really want to go into the next button on this tutorial, which is this button, until we start a fresh one. So yeah, continue to watch these if you're interested in learning more about Universal Battle 2. I hope you're enjoying them. Please come up with comments on what you want to see in further tutorials, because I am open to doing more, even the ones that I haven't planned to do. Obviously, if you do offer a suggestion and it's already on a future video, then you'll just have to wait and see that one. But yeah, there's other suggestions on things that I won't think of myself, so keep them coming and pose more questions in the comments. And of course, if you're enjoying these, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel, because we very much value your support. Looking to expand the channel with various new videos like this tutorial series. So if you're enjoying them, please subscribe, because you know we're desperate. No, just kidding. Well, we would like you to. Anywho, I do hope you're enjoying them, and I will see you in the next tutorial. See you later.